Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Unofficial Ignition Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, a person who is well known and actually famous, I think, in the Ignition community. And he is known for not being shy of sharing all his insights. So, without further ado, Phil, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. I'm Phil Seboa. I'm part of the iControls team down in Australia, and we are great. It's great to be on this podcast.
Cool. Phil, you and I have chatted a bit about Ignition and what it does, and we talk a lot about how Ignition, how it's different in Australia and in Europe versus the US. And the idea of the episode today is to address two core questions that you and I have talked about on several occasions. So let's just jump into it. So the first question I have is, we talk so much about the new SCADA, and we see that everywhere when you talk about Ignition, we say the new SCADA. First of all, I think it's interesting to discuss what do we actually mean by that, and it also implies there has to be something called the old SCADA for something to be new. So let's try to address those two things. What is the new SCADA, Phil?
Well, look, from our perspective, we look at Ignition being a reimagining of SCADA. It's a evolution of SCADA. It was, designed with an understanding of what the current landscape of SCADA looked like, and then taking all those best points and really making it excel in this space. And by that I mean, creating an unlimited platform with unlimited potential and unlimited capabilities. We see it as a real tool for industry to push those, the Industry 4 concepts and the IoT principles to forward and to the forefront. SCADA is one of the applications that Ignition can be used for, but there are a multitude of applications outside the realms of SCADA that Ignition is used for. And it's a real, a tool set that integrators and engineers can use to solve problems for their customers.
I think one of, just to circle back on one of the words you said there, you talk about unlimited. I think when talking with people in this realm, I experienced two things. So if you meet people who have been in automation or in this line of business, in this industry for decades, they are a bit skeptical. Unlimited, what do you actually mean? Because nothing is unlimited, blah blah blah. So they don't trust that, or they don't understand. So that's as I understand you, that's one of the things you're saying. That's very new to Ignition. If you
Absolutely. It takes away those boundaries, right?
Yeah. So the fact that we talk about unlimited number of tags and unlimited number of users and so on and so forth. Yeah.
And it just kind of unleashes that creativity from a system integrator point of view, because you're not going back to, licensing boundaries by, usual SCADA limits.
Yeah. So that takes me to the other part of the discussion, because if I talk with people who are not used to this industry, let's say standard IT folks who also work with industrial solutions in one way or the other, they are also a bit skeptical, because but why shouldn't it be unlimited? So that's the modern way of doing things, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
so what you're saying is that it's like these two worlds are now meeting, they are converging. That's what's happening here.
Absolutely. So Ignition is the bridge between those two areas, right? So IT and OT we talk about. And there's always been constraints around that OT structure, about device connections, about tag counts, about client access. And so what we're doing with Ignition is really opening up those systems to be able to use that unlimited model to be able to collect the data that you need and get it in front of the people that need to see it.
Yeah. So as a distributor in Australia, I guess this whole story about the new SCADA and this unlimited approach to things, that's appreciated by your clients as well.
Absolutely, it's a change in landscape, right? The community, the industrial community, has really, I guess, seen the potential of ignition with a real differentiator in the market. It's a bit disruptive at times, and that can really, I guess, be difficult to manage from an integrator point of view, but it actually empowers them to be able to make more decisions and solve more problems for their customers by diversifying some of the applications that they're not traditionally been doing. So they move into the away from the OT space and moving up the stack into that IT space, where we see other applications like MES also becoming more of a norm for the OT layer as IT, I guess, starts reaching down into all facets of our industry. So it's a really great point to separate the new from the old.
Yeah, and as a part of that, a follow-up question to that, Phil, we talk about, I use that word a lot, I know that, and sometimes you tend to forget that maybe not everybody understands what you're talking about, but we tend to call ignition, or when we talk about ignition, we talk about it as a platform, not a piece of software. Of course, it is a piece of software, it's an application, but it's not really an application, it's a platform. Why do we say that? What do we mean by that in your words?
It's a real, in my opinion, it's a springboard, right? The platform that you need to really, I guess, build on. Yeah. That's what it is. It's a foundation for any business to be able to scale, be able to collect the data that they need to see, be able to reach into other areas of their business through maybe an API integration or shared databases. Ignition is one of those platforms that can really reach into those far out of reach places of the business that sometimes, you need data from to be able to tell the story of your business as a whole. So Ignition becomes that single pane of glass for your business to be able to, highlight some of the key areas where you can improve on efficiency, and really move your business forward.
I tend to use the analogy of my relatively old iPhone here, which to me is also a platform, because my wife has one more or less the same, but it's a very different iPhone at the end of the day, because the iPhone, or the smartphone in general, is in and of itself a platform, and you add the functionality in the form of apps that you need and your settings that you need, and that makes sense in your life and your work situation, whatever it might be. So that's the analogy I use when I talk with clients.
Absolutely. So SCADA is just one application within that portfolio, right? So it's really a rapid applications development environment where you can contextualize that data that you've collected into real life use cases for your business.
Great. Then let's jump to something completely different. I know that you and I share this idea that SCADA is a great way to start, or a great place to start when people are talking about digital transformation, which in itself is a very abstract term and a difficult thing to understand and means many different things. But I know we share the idea that SCADA is a great place to start. Could you elaborate a bit on why do you think so? Why is this such a great idea?
Look, from a SCADA point of view, I think it's a really good opportunity to learn technology. So different stacks, different ways of tackling problems. Ignition gives you that base for learning. So you can learn MQTT and OPCUA, SQL, HTML5, CSS. I mean, the technologies really go on, Python, and all those are wrapped up into one easy to use software platform, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one key point that's missing in many platforms, is that it's actually fun to use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can state that I am an ignition maker.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I use it in my home automation system. You can use it with Maker Edition, which is a free platform for any budding engineer to get really in touch with Ignition and start having fun and developing applications and learning real life industrial processes and creating some really cool dashboarding tools and integrations. I know I have a lot of fun and I use it in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, and then in this world where there's so much talk about enterprise-wide solutions and cloud integration and big data and all kinds of things, I know that you and we both push the message that that's probably all good and dandy, but what about building some relatively low-key SCADA solution first? Let's try to elaborate a bit, Phil, on why is this such a great idea to start from that end instead of focusing on big cloud integrations from day one or MES solutions or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I guess perspective is a really great place to start when it comes to design and understanding, user interactions and user accessibility, user operations. All these things help build your understanding of how people are going to use your system. At the end of the day, Industry 4 and digital transformations are for the people that use the system, and the business will only benefit from ease of use and scaling that operation. So it's really going to be a real learning point from businesses to really focus on how people are going to use the system, because that's always something that is kind of missed in that whole grand scheme of things. Yes, the business will profit from an Industry 4 approach, but actually the people will benefit more.
Yeah, that's a super cool comment there, and I think a very, very important message to everybody, that it only makes sense if it makes sense to the people working with this on a daily basis. It has to be easy, it has to be intuitive, and it has to bring some value to that everyday life. We have a client right now in a manufacturing company in Germany, and the guy heading this process, he's saying during our weekly sprints that what do we have this week that the operators will think is valuable? Because if we don't have anything, then it doesn't really matter that we talk about these big ideas and bringing data to the cloud. Yeah, whatever. So do we have something that make their life easier, that will make it easier for them to do what they want to do and actually empower their work situation? That's an important issue.
Absolutely. It's about getting the right data in front of the right people so that they can make educated decisions. And that will only benefit the business in the grand scheme of things. If they're getting the wrong data, then they can't make accurate and correct decisions.
Yeah, and on top of that, as the icing on the cake, you can say that if you can build even just a simple SCADA solution to tie some things together, then you're also starting to get your ducks in a row. You get your naming convention right, and you get your connectivity, and you get your infrastructure up and running, and so on and so forth. And I have claimed, and it would be interesting here at the finale to have your viewpoint on that. I have claimed that if you can do that and you can get everything connected, then from there to the cloud, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, Ignition allows you to prepare the data, right? You need that contextualization to get it up to the cloud. Otherwise, it will go up to the cloud with no context, no understanding, and data is just data. Until you get that context layer, you won't be able to do anything with it and make anything from it. So it's always nice to push that data up to the cloud, but without that context, it's kind of meaningless.
It doesn't bring any value. No.
No,
Cool.
absolutely not.
Great.
Absolutely not.
Super. Thanks, Phil. That was cool. Very insightful here. Anything here at the end that you want to add? Any best practice or advice that you want to drop on people here at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, if you're really interested in Industry 4, if you're looking into a SCADA platform, if you're looking to learn the basics of IoT, definitely get on and install your own Ignition. You can download it for free. So it's nice and easy to use. It's fun. It's honestly, and it's more about the Ignition community than it is about anything else. Like, getting onto these podcasts is awesome, but we have a real rich Ignition community out there that is really supportive and willing to share their experiences with Ignition. So if I can say anything, download Ignition and have a go.
Thank you very much, Phil. Great to have you on the show. Thank you.